either live by the gun or you die by the sword.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. I'm Nicho.
And I'm Chris.
And we are trying a new segment.
Yes.
We lied. There is an extra short coming out this year. We are doing what we are calling Husband Watches, where Chris and I will vicariously review series that her husband binges.
Yes.
That she has only listened to.
And
I've
only heard the bitching of.
Yes.
Yeah.
From both of you.
Yes. So it's notorious that you and I don't really watch TV.
No.
It's not that we don't like it necessarily. It's just, I don't have time, and most of the time my attention span's not quite that long.
Yes.
I don't care.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit from when you brought up the idea of doing this, and this is experimental. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
But the way your husband watches stuff, he binges it, but he also prefers long format
binge
storytelling, whereas we like more mid-range.
Yeah, or even full-on condensed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We like things also to be nicely wrapped up. So in most movies, even those that have long series, each one
Supernatural.
Yeah. Most of them are nicely condensed and you could end it whenever you want.
Yeah.
My husband, much like the rest of the world in 2020, binge watches things a lot.
And then re-binges that same show.
Yes, he does. I think a lot of people, this is how they watch TV nowadays. I think this is how people have always watched TV, but now that we have Netflix and Amazon, people can just kind of watch specifically what they want whenever they want. Whereas it used to be you had to either get into a TV show that binged itself on TV for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Western TV shows that did that on the Western channel. Mm-hmm. Or example being I think Seinfeld and Friends kind of binged itself on TV at certain times. So that's why a lot of people binge watch both of those shows.
Yeah. Whereas you vicariously watch it through Brian, whereas yes. I watch TV shows, but it's taken me 3 or 4 months to get through 40 episodes of One Piece.
Yeah. And there are certain TV shows that I actively enjoy watching, but most of those are set up like movies. So example, the Witcher series, I really enjoyed. But again, it was set up very much it wasn't set up very much like a TV show. It was leaning a little bit more on the movie side of film, which is probably why I managed to get through more of it than others. Yeah,
and on my side of things, because we've talked about doing episodes and how we could approach television show reviews.
Yeah, because there is a lot of stuff out there that's really cool.
And how I watch stuff is I prefer one-shots.
Yes.
Where the season's over and I don't need anything else. Gurren Lagann.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I'm going to reference a lot of animes because that's about the only TV show I watch nowadays.
Fair.
Outside of actually getting to Tiger King.
Yes, which we'll eventually get to, because he did also binge Tiger King, and both of us had to listen to him bitch about it.
We had to listen to everyone talk about Tiger King.
And this is kind of where we want to go with this, because my husband very much also enjoys a lot of the shows that everyone else is into. He likes The Mandalorian. He's waiting for the last episode to come out so he can binge The Mandalorian.
Yep.
That's how he watches stuff.
Yeah, one of the times he was over... When I tried having them watch, I was watching Nosferatu for 31 Days of Halloween.
I've tried to make him watch that so many times.
And he's like, oh, this is a TV show I'm watching. And he pulls it up, and it's just the story of Dracula. And I'm like, this is the exact same thing, and you can get through this, and it's so stupid.
My husband is very much oriented towards TV shows. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not how we watch stuff. However, there's a lot of stories in TV shows that I legitimately do find interesting. Yeah. Most of them I wish were in book format so I could read them, but this is one way.
Yeah, exactly.
And so he binges stuff so quickly that we usually have a couple of different things that we get to talk about that I don't actually get to watch them. I work from home. I have to listen to, whenever he's not working and I am, I get to the joy of listening to the TV show, but I have my back turned to the TV. So I don't
Or,
actually get to watch it.
Even if it's your day off, you're sitting there playing your Switch while he's binging stuff.
This is very accurate. So the things we're about to review, for the most part, we have not actually watched.
No.
But we have listened to somebody watch.
Yes.
And so the point of this is to kind of go through what is out there bingeable style and what kind of sounds interesting to us and what we might actually get around to watching an episode or two of.
Yes. So, what do we have first on the docket this time, Chris?
Well, for the last week and a half, my husband has been watching a Netflix original called Alien Worlds. The concept, I think, and I've seen, I think, 2 of the episodes of it, and I did like it, as far as I remember, is that it's supposed to be a sci-fi documentary where they take the concepts and rules of Earth, so like the law of gravity, the way hunter and prey interact, or how certain creatures have evolved to be specific for like desert environments.
Okay, it kind of like, I think Animal Planet had or Discovery Channel had something like this a while ago.
This reeks of Discovery Channel.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting too, because I found a YouTube video recently. I think it was SciShow, or it was one of the PBS Eon, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And or just one of the PBS shows. And they were talking about how Mars might not be the place to colonize, but it's actually one of the moons of Saturn, Titan.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's potentially the building blocks to life, but we're not sure.
Yeah.
And we're sending a probe out in like 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, so this one does a nice job of taking those real-world laws and explaining them to you, showing real documentary-style footage of those laws in practice.
Okay.
And then applying them to a fantasy sci-fi alien world that's somewhere out there in the universe and how that might look. So, example being how some creatures have adapted for desert life. Well, what if there's a planet out there that doesn't rotate like Earth does? And so one side's always in the sun, always in desert. The other side's always in cold.
Titan.
Exactly. So what would that look like? What could the animals on that world look like?
Okay.
And so the reason why I say this reeks of Discovery Channel is Discovery Channel, at least back when you and I watched it, always did a nice job of the CGI fake stuff. Always looked pretty nice, if not very nice.
Yeah.
This has the same level of CGI animals running around, doing animal stuff. But the thing that I like a little bit more about this one is there are bits and pieces, not a lot, just enough on how they make the animal documentaries. So example, I always thought that for the bug shots for all of those animal documentaries, some guy is in the jungle with a camera waiting for a bug.
Yeah.
False. It's all staged.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
I have been fooled my whole life. So that's part of why I like this one, is it's really well done. It's mostly entertainment with a little bit of actual facts sprinkled in. So it's not too much documentary if you're, not looking to be educated.
Yeah. So question for this one. Is Netflix still doing the thing like how Disney Plus is releasing an episode a week, or is Netflix just releasing everything all at once now?
I don't know for everything, but I know that for this one is bingeable.
Okay.
I think there's not a ton of episodes, so you theoretically could get through it pretty quickly. It's very documentary style. So there's not a lot, but they do have the groundwork for it to just kind of keep going. So in theory, it could be my husband level binging where he watches like 40 episodes a day.
Okay.
Or it could just be our level where there's 4 episodes and you watch them, once a week.
Okay. I can see that. Yeah, I haven't heard too much on this one, especially from... I think I've heard more about this one from you than I have Brian, honestly. He's been distracted by the other 2 shows a little bit more. Yeah, and like you said, this one seems like it's more up our alley and not his cup of tea.
He doesn't mind watching a documentary with me, but they are not his favorite thing to watch.
No, Philip is very frustrated with us. We've been trying to get through a Rich Man's Trick for 5 years now, because it always ends with me ranting about conspiracies and reptilian overlords.
And I spend a great deal of my time wishing that someone would finish watching all of these really dry, really boring British documentaries with me.
Is it in that style, or is it...
Oh, they are so dry. You know how Monty Python makes fun of that one documentary by killing that guy throughout the movie?
Yes.
It's that, but without Monty Python.
Interesting.
It's so dry.
So Alien Worlds is pretty dry.
No, Alien Worlds itself,
Oh.
fantastic. Very,
Okay.
very standard. The one I'm watching, which is about witches in Europe, so dry. So dry.
Yeah.
This one not. This one is fantastic, and from what I understand and what he's told me about it, very standard documentary bingeable.
Okay. I actually might give this one a go.
Yeah, I like this one. If you're into documentaries, but you don't necessarily want to watch too much education, from what I've been listening to, that's what this one is.
Okay.
All right, the next one that he has watched, and I have watched quite a bit with him, thankfully, because this is one of the ones that he likes, but he doesn't love. And
Okay.
that's how you know that I get to watch an episode. Because if he loves something, he will binge it while I am doing other things, like working.
What show is that?
This is called The Repair Shop. And this is a British TV show. It's currently on Netflix, but
Okay.
I also think it's available on BBC One, which, if you get BBC One, I think you can pay for BBC One here, but I don't pay for it. Sorry.
I haven't had cable in almost a decade now.
Same, but I think it's on there if you have cable. So this is classic sweet British style reality TV, reality in quotes here, where there's a shop full of experts who fix up family heirlooms.
Okay.
The reason why I've gotten to watch any of it is because Brian has decided that this is the perfect show to watch with our friend Phil, who is very much a maker. Phil likes making things. He's got a lot of different talents and interests, including metal, wood, carving, leather, you name it.
Is this the show that Brian got into casting for?
Yes.
What?
Okay, yes and no. So this show led him to that show. And we'll review that show next time, because he's still binging that one.
Interesting. Yeah.
This one led to that.
Okay, because, your husband and I...
He has suddenly taken an interest in making his own knives. He has nowhere to make knives. We live in a tiny-ass apartment. But he suddenly feels like forging would be fun. Because of TV.
I've looked at that, too, and I think, Man-at-Arms was kind of a big proponent of that.
Yeah.
Because it made forging more accessible.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas, I think I've talked about it where, my introduction to smithing and all that stuff was at medieval festivals.
I think a lot of people.
In Germany.
Yeah, you got the cool stuff.
Yeah, whereas, in a castle and they had actual jousting.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one there is some metal work, but it very much depends on what the piece that comes in the door is.
Okay.
So sometimes it's ceramic that needs fixing. Sometimes it's a teddy bear that needs fixing. Sometimes it's an antique chest. Sometimes it's, a pair of binoculars. It depends on what the people bring in.
So it's just a hodgepodge of everything.
It is. But the thing that makes it nice is, and the episode that I actually got to watch with him that really kind of hooked me in on this one is an original Eames chair came in, which... For those of you not in the architecture furniture world, the Eames was a husband and wife team who are thought of very highly in the architecture and furniture world.
Yes.
They did a lot of innovation, especially with bent plywood.
If you've ever seen reoccurring chairs in movies, because we've seen it, it's either this chair, the Eames chair, which is the wood and leather, or it's the Corbusier chair, the very square rectangular one.
With the beautiful shiny metal legs, yeah. These are very much thought of as pristine, high-level, classical chairs in the modern world for furniture.
To give some perspective, because I do love furniture,
It's a fun world. It sounds boring, but it's really not. It's a really cool subcategory.
I took a history of furniture class in college.
It's a lot of fun.
I was a little sad on it because I was supposed to take a architecture and film class.
Oh, that had been way cooler.
But Rumiko canceled the class because she had a book to write.
Well, that sounds like a lot of work.
But for those who don't know, the Eames are famous for steam-pressed molded chairs.
Yeah, so plywood that is literally bent to a unique shape.
Yeah.
And
high-quality plywood, because it originally started off as stretchers.
Yeah, and leg braces and stuff. And then it moved into furniture, and they have a bunch of stuff.
They're one of the early ergonomic designers.
Very much so. And they were also very into a lot of stuff. So they did toys, they did a short movie that was based off of scale.
Yeah.
Houses, buildings, they were all over the place
and
design-wise.
they were one of the early architects to really open up about their process and iterations.
And so they are one of the great architects that a lot of people study when they are in our industry. So that's why I got to watch this episode. Yeah. Well, I shouldn't say got to. While I was pulled aside to watch this episode.
Yeah.
And I got hooked because most of the time when stuff that comes in to these reality shows comes in, a lot of times you kind of get the sneaky impression that like maybe either the thing is getting repaired in a way that isn't to a very high standard.
Yeah.
Or the thing being repaired isn't necessarily like an expensive or greatly treasured antique. It's important to that person, but maybe not like a historical piece.
Yeah.
When they brought in the Eames chair, I was like, oh, if they just glue that back together, this is going to be the end. No, they full on brought in a man that's the only thing he does is Eames chairs.
Okay.
And it was really interesting to hear his process on how he was going to fix it, on why he couldn't replace wood for wood, on why he had to take apart this or that. And then I actually learned something about the chair because while he was taking it apart, he explained that like the base, the butt pad, and the back pad are the exact same shape. One's just inverted.
Yeah.
And they're designed that way so that way throughout the life of the chair, you were supposed to have taken them off and rotated them so that the wear would have been equal.
Oh.
Yeah, something I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because in our school, we glaze over this subject so quickly.
So much to history of furniture. Like, that is, you could spend your life studying it.
Yeah.
And so...
I mean, I have a book written by one of our professors that's a thick, brightly green book that's just called The History of Furniture.
Yep, and it's one of many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that really got me hooked on this series. And I have watched a couple episodes of this one.
Okay.
But he's definitely watched more than I have.
As usual.
As usual. But yeah, I was really impressed with this one because it does give you that home-feely British feel-good. So imagine Great British Bake Off, where it's very, it feels nice, it makes you happy, everyone wins in the end sort of mindset.
Okay. Well,
with being the British, background that it is.
So, my question, because me going into reality television, I've never been a fan of it.
Fair. This is very different than American reality TV.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Is it very much the British where it's just more level-headed and not the hyped-up, edited drama that American is?
Oh, very much so. And also, this is in the reality TV world, but I honestly, especially for American audiences, like, this isn't really reality TV. It's reality TV because it's real people with real... Kind of like how...
it's how reality TV was supposed to be.
Yeah. Do you remember the show Antique Roadshows?
Yes.
It's very much similar.
Okay.
Where it's like, these are, like... Granted, they are on TV, they are recurring personalities most of the time, with the exception of, like, a very high specialist, like the Eames chair guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you're not feeling like there's any drama, there's no tension. They are literally repairing shit for people and then giving them back because it's a family heirloom or it's important to them in some way.
Yeah.
And as they go along, they show you their process. They show you why certain things are done a certain way or explain it to you. And it's just kind of a nice, pleasant background thing.
Okay.
Where, yeah, I can see why this one's bingeable to him because you can put it on and it's entertaining, but like, you're not sucked into a full world sort of style.
So it's like little snippets of intrigue.
Exactly. And there's usually like 3 or 4 pieces that they work on per episode.
Okay.
So you're not spending the whole time deep learning about a clock.
Okay. Yeah, from what your husband, Philip, and I are interested in, because we do watch a lot of craft show or woodworking stuff together. This is definitely something that I can see myself watching at some point here and there, because again, I've got like 5 TV shows that I started, and
this isn't high on the list for me, but it is nice when it's on, and it's something that's like easily agreed on to watch.
Okay.
So I like it, but I can see how, especially if you're into Great British Bake Off, I could see how this would be a bingeable one.
And I've never seen Great British Bake Off.
It's an Erica show for sure.
Okay.
Very sweet, everyone wins, even though it's a competition.
Okay.
Yeah. Very like politely British. Pleasantly British.
All right. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. All right. And then the true binger of the week / the last 2 weeks / he's still going. The real TV show.
Yeah.
The anime Black Clover.
Which I vaguely know of this. Because I think I was introduced to it through Loot Anime when I was still doing it.
It had a real hype for a while, I think.
I have volume 1, but I've never actually read or seen anything of it.
Fair.
I was hesitant on watching it because I was reading, I've read articles of like, and this was back when this was really starting to take off, because that was when Bleach was ending. Naruto had been wrapped up for like 2 years by that point.
Yep.
One Piece is still the behemoth that it is.
It's its own beast at this point.
Yes.
It's its own category.
Yeah. So this, I know, was one of the potential up-and-comers of the next great shonen trio.
And I think it still has a lot of the tropes to do so. Mostly because it's still going. Yeah.
The other thing I think is part of the reason I haven't got around to it is just because, again, I like one-shots.
Yeah.
Like, I like them to be done and over with, like Mushishi. Like, the only one I'm caught up on is My Hero Academia.
Fair. Yeah. And, like, I can see how that one could potentially wrap itself into itself.
Yeah.
Like, it could continue on forever, like how some of them did, or it could, like Naruto, finally end up and be a complete story.
Yeah.
Minus the sequel that they made. We don't talk about him.
I've heard it's not bad.
Brian watched that one too.
Nice. So, Black Clover, what is it about?
Well, this is one of the ones where, like you, I read the first book when it originally started getting popular.
Well, I haven't actually read it. I have it.
You have it.
Yeah, it's sitting on a shelf.
I just borrowed it. I did read the first book, and this does fall into the sort of like category that my husband really likes. So I recommended this one to him. He's fairly new to the anime world. Ever since we got married and started dating, he's finally started to like accept that he likes them.
Okay.
And then like actively watch them by himself. When we were dating, he'd watch things with me. But now that we've gotten married and he's had more years to let that stuff digest, he has actively watched things without me. Like, example, Naruto.
Yeah.
I liked Naruto. I couldn't watch all of it. It was too long for me, which is hilarious because I finished all of Inuyasha. But he watched that one completely by himself. He completely binged Naruto in, like, I think 2 months.
I like Demon Slayer. That's the one I'm most up to date on.
Yeah. This one is very much into the same vibes as like Fairy Tail.
Okay.
It's very much stubbornness and friendship will get us through this.
So what is the premise of it? Because I honestly know nothing about this show.
Yeah, okay. So the premise of this is there's a world where everyone has magic, right?
Okay.
And everyone gets a Gilmora, so a fancy floating magic book. And there's different levels, there's different types of magic. Everyone's special and unique. And in this world, there is a Wizard King. He's your coolest, baddest dude. And then there's Wizard Knights. And they're like the protectors of the world. And your goal as a young, aspiring person is to probably you want to be a Wizard Knight. Okay,
so it's like the being a hero in My Hero Academia.
Very much so. The story mostly follows, and the main character is a orphan kid from a hobunk town out in the middle of nowhere who is the only person in the entire world born with zero magic. Like, none.
So, like...
Exactly like My Hero. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very similar. His quote-unquote brother, so they're raised together in the same orphanage, is super powerful, has one of the coolest shiny Gilmoras. I think it has multiple leaves on its clover. I don't know what they mean yet. I just hear them yell about it sometimes in Japanese.
Nani?
Yes. There's a lot of that being yelled. It's very, like... If you fell in love with like the old style of action animes, like this is very much in the same vibe.
Okay, so it's like Saint Seiya kind of.
Yeah, it's very Fairy Tail in some aspects. It's very My Hero Academia sometimes. It's very much got like the over the top tropes. It's got a lot of fun faces. It's got a couple filler episodes that aren't necessary. A lot of quirky characters.
Okay.
And from the Japanese that I do understand, because he's watching this on Crunchyroll with English subtitles.
Yeah.
And luckily I am weeb enough to know enough anime Japanese that I don't have to read the subtitles all the time. I don't know what's going on all the time, but I do hear a lot of... I know enough to get through. He has binged a shit ton of this show.
Yeah.
He has gotten really far in for how much I thought in the amount of time he's gone. So he must really like this show. So all I know is the main character now has a cool sword. It cuts magic things, and his brother has more cool magic, and they're fighting to become the Wizard King. And of course, in classic anime trope, shit hits the fan, and everyone, just like in Dragon Ball Z, needs to get cooler, badder, and more powerful. Yeah. And sometimes it's the power of friendship, and sometimes it's the power of stubbornness. It's mostly stubbornness in this one.
Okay. Yeah, I actually have been interested in this, so I probably will get to this at some point. I have a backlog with what we have coming up. I recently got Paranoia Agent in, and that's going to take precedent because...
You want to get to that one first.
Yeah, and again, it's perfect for me because it's a 13-episode short.
And this one is still going. I think he's on episode 50 now, or something like... Or no, he's on like episode 100. Just kidding. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
but this is very much how I remember the Naruto phase being, where like, and when I say phase, I mean like back when everyone was really into it, and like a new episode would come out pretty regularly, new books were coming out pretty regularly, there was always more, they were always topping themselves, and it got to a point where you didn't necessarily have to love the main character because there was other side characters to really get into. I don't know much about any of the side characters, but it follows the standard anime tropes enough that when I get up to go, like, take a bathroom break or get lunch, I can look at the screen. I've skipped, like, 40 episodes. I can look at the screen and be like, that person's a little bitch and is gonna die, and, like, 3 episodes later, they die.
Okay.
So it's very stereotypical, but he's really enjoying it, which he's pretty picky on his action animes. So I think this one, like you said, is probably going to, down the road, become like a really popular one that a lot of people will like.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I've been talking to my brother about anime a lot lately just because we both our viewing style has changed. Christian definitely watches TV shows a lot more than I do. He prefers that format because he can sit down for 30 minutes and move on to something else, whereas I have to block out time for that extra 30 minutes to squeeze in. But like, just the whole anime scene's changed so much since, because I dropped out of it for a few years because of college, and
it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, and like I love hearing your husband tell me about other shows that he's watched, because
it's really fun to listen to him describe it because he is so new to anime that he doesn't have that backlog of shows to like explain things with. He's seen the big ones, so he's seen Full Metal, he loved it.
Yeah,
he saw all of Naruto and loved it. He's seen most of Dragon Ball. I made him watch the original one to explain to him, like, why things are the way they are in the new one, because, like, the original one was such a joke, and he loved that one. So, like, listening to him explain Black Clover has been a hoot.
Yeah.
And it does sound like a lot of fun, but I think I'm enjoying watching this one kind of vicariously through him.
Okay.
Mostly because I'm watching other animes that he doesn't want to watch.
Yeah, you watched The Magical Girl.
I am rewatching Sakura.
Yeah.
It's adorable. But I also watch a lot of stuff that, like, he just really has no interest in.
Yeah.
Or we're into the horror ones that, like, he doesn't like. He doesn't like them.
And I think he's coming around, too, with just knowing us and me being such a visual storytelling person is... We've gotten him to watch stuff that I don't think he would have watched previously.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he recently watched 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Which he would have read the description of and, like, watched the first, like, minute or two and been like, nah, not for me, and then change the channel.
Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
We'll get to that one eventually. Yeah. We will break him. He can't get past the whistling part.
He can't get past the first 3 minutes of staring.
That's because it's 3 minutes of staring.
Yeah.
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 But he'll get there.
Yeah, it's good to know. I think
this would be a fun one that, like, if you have a friend who, like, this would be a good one to binge if you have time.
Yeah.
Or to read. But, like, I think this is a really fun one where if you have someone who's really into it, just pick it up where they start.
Okay.
And, like, it's easy enough to be like, this is badass number 1, this is badass number 2, their powers are based off of ice and fire, go for it. And you can just kind of enjoy the ride.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely will be adding this one to my list at some point. It's just, I now have all of Satoshi Kon's library, and so that's...
And it's also been a pretty good decade for new anime, too. We've gotten quite a lot of actually interesting ones that aren't just one-shots. Yeah. So there's a lot out there to get caught up on. Yeah,
and we'll talk about that a little bit in an upcoming spotlight in February, just because...
We do love anime. We gotta talk about it sometime.
We do, and I've had a lot of talks with my brother recently about it, just because it's changed so much / hasn't.
It hasn't changed, but at the same time, it's so much easier to get a hold of nowadays.
Yeah. So. But for you, is Black Clover bingeable?
Yeah, Black Clover is totally bingeable for me if I had time. But I'm putting it a little farther down the list for me just because it is a standard shoujin.
Okay.
Not my cup of tea, but if you're into shoujins, this is a very classical one. Yeah. Highly bingeable.
Okay. I will probably add it to my list.
Fair.
So, well, I don't know how we're going to end this episode.
I don't know either. We'll wait for my husband to find the new thing to binge and report back.
Yeah, because you mentioned he'll rewatch.
Oh, he rewatches. Well, and he watches stuff later than everyone else because he wants to binge it.
Yeah.
Example being The Mandalorian. He loves The Mandalorian, and his dad has been wanting him to watch it for a month now. But he wants all of the episodes out so he can watch all of them back to back to back.
Well, maybe we'll have a talk of that, because I've never seen The Mandalorian either.
Me neither.
I refuse to get Disney Plus, and I despise Baby Yoda.
Who is arguably the main character. And as far as I know. Again, I haven't watched it all either. Mostly.
Same here.
So, but we will eventually get to hear all about it.
Yes, and we will report to you our thoughts on stuff we've never seen.
Yep.
And maybe I'll have updates of what I actually get to watch from these.
Yeah, when I get around to watching the rest of Repair Shop, I'll tell you if I still like it or not.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, this has been the first experimental husband watch from The Good, the Bad, and the Weird.
Thanks for listening.
Peace.